Welcome to Food Shrinks.
Hey everybody, welcome to Food Shrinks. Molly C here. You know, there's like this spiritual truth that's just like what is in the one is in the whole. And like, of course, we're therapists, but we're also humans and we're also friends. And we're sort of trying to give you guys a little bite of all areas of our lives. And a few podcasts ago, Molly P said something that I think got me and Clarissa's like therapist antennas up, but also our friend antennas up, but also our like whatever. And as it is, this is what it is to be, besties with a therapist. And Molly P was like, well, what did you say, Mol?
I don't know, maybe that like I see things so differently from the two of you, maybe.
Yeah, I think you said something like, well, I sometimes feel like the odd man out. And I was like, wait,
Yeah.
hold on. Wait,
Yeah,
what?
I think that was it.
Yeah, you really did try to pretty it up there, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I mean, yes, I did probably say something to that effect. Yeah, I mean, I think it's so, some things to keep in mind is like I'm 2 hours behind you two. So sometimes I wake up to this whole like love affair sometimes. It feels and I'm saying that like not in a mean way. You guys have
Yeah,
to understand my brand of
I don't
humor,
think
and
you're
that's
saying
just
anything in a mean way. We
I'm
can
just
start
I'm
there.
just I'm very dry with my humor sometimes, but that is, so it kind of can feel like maybe I'm missing out on the trio, that like I want to work on the trio because I know that you have mentioned, Molly, like coming into the relationship a bit late, and like we're a package deal, and like that can't always feel good to try to get in there, right? And so I think like in this effort to really think about the trio and that kind of thing, and then I'm like, oh, dang, I just kind of feel, oh, and then we'll have conversations about topics. And I feel like my take on things is often like so different, maybe. I don't know. The words are not coming to me, like the feelings are there, but the words aren't necessarily there yet
What are
for
the,
it. But
should we bring a feelings wheel? You know how much I love a feelings wheel? I'm a sucker for a feelings wheel.
yeah.
What feeling? I mean, I have a lot to say about this, Bob, so I'm sure,
Mm,
but like,
I would say mainly probably the biggest one, like as I'm sitting here, I'm even having like a very visceral reaction. I think fear is probably the main emotion that comes up with it because holy shit, I am gonna cry.
I'm crying too.
Because oh, sorry
Um,
for the
Thank you.
swears. Because I get worried that like I think about things in such an obscure way sometimes. I worry that like I'm wackadoodle, almost like there's not like a grip on reality anymore. And I don't always know if it's just like my intuition. And I actually did have a very important person in my life recently tell me that one of the things that she really does appreciate about me is that I have this ability to see like almost like 10 years into the future, like that I can kind of think outside of the box and kind of see a trajectory of things, and not everybody has that ability. Well, that's comforting in a way, because then it reminds me that because not everybody has that ability, that's probably why I feel other too. But yeah, there's a lot of fear that like I'm just not a part of the group, like that I'm like not the zebra, I'm a donkey
What's the
or
secret?
something.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Marty said find your zebras to us one time, and
Oh,
um
I
and
think
so
he meant be in the middle of the pack. That's like his big one, that the herd runs and you want to be in the middle of the zebra pack and not
oh
on the sides where you get eaten up. A good podcast for us to do.
yeah,
yes, yes.
totally. So I think that's, yeah, like I often feel like a donkey or something, just different, then like close enough, similar enough that we all make it work. But I do worry, like, yeah, there's like that fear of like one day I'm going to say my truth and you guys are going to be like, that chick is whack and bye. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I
so
don't want to fix,
interesting. Go
yeah, I
ahead.
think it's fascinating. And I don't want to fix your feelings. I
Yeah.
want to teach everybody that we're not going to sit here and be like, no, so much. Like, because I don't know. I mean, you know that somewhere. I can say I really identify with that is what I want to say. And I feel that. And I actually want to say it's so helpful when you said fear,
Mm-hmm.
because I think when I call it like, I don't know if it's a thing, like I call it like othering. Like I'll be sitting in like a 12-step meeting, and I guess a fear will come in and it'll just start. It'll be like, you don't belong here. You're so different than everybody. They all get along and you don't. They go to the dinners and you don't. Why can't you just be like everybody else? And I can assure you that's my childhood trauma. Like, I don't even need a master's degree to tell you.
Right.
Like, I grew up in this town with like everybody had two parents. I swear everybody was skinny. I swear everybody had straight hair. Maybe not true, but I think it was true. And that's the story. And so I had like a dead dad, a mother that worked. I had unruly hair. I was heavy. I just felt like I didn't belong. And that feeling comes up in me a lot too,
Mhm.
that I feel other. And and then I think it might be scared for me to feel part of, but let's stay with Molly P today. But I really feel that. And I think it is such a root of my eating disorder. I don't know about you.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Because when that starts to come up, it's like shove it back down somehow.
Shove it back down.
Yeah.
Throw
Yeah.
some maple syrup on that othering, you know?
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Because as much as that is my fear, I don't want people to know that either.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I want to fit in. I try so hard. You know, you mask up, not everybody deserves all the bits of you or should have access to all the different bits of you, right? So there's this armoring, I guess, of whatever. And so, yeah, the last thing I want people to know then is that like I feel like I don't necessarily fit
Wait, can
either.
we just break this down for the reader if they're relating? I swear I'm just crying. So like what we're saying is that we're in an experience. By the way, we're a bunch of therapists having this feeling. We're in an experience. By the way, we're in an experience like two of our really good friends.
Yep.
Comes over us like, oh, they relate on something that I don't. Something
Yeah.
really old comes up. It's
Mhm.
hysterical, it's historical. And then we armor up. We
Mhm.
don't even we don't even say like, oh, hey, like I don't do this in my circles either. Like, hey guys, I'm feeling really left out here. I don't know what just happened to me. And in AA, I'm like, well, I probably should just not be in AA, or I just shouldn't be in this group, or I probably should find somewhere else to go. Like I want to run.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're also saying is that that scares you so much that it forces an armor on, which would mean that we can't get to it because you're locked in.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Because instead of saying I feel other than, I will do anything and everything to not be, it's my abandonment and rejection stuff. A
Say
hundred
more.
percent.
Say
100%.
more.
Um, I guess because I am like the black sheep in my family, like legit, that's not just me like being dramatic. It's legit. Like, um, I have been rejected from day one by even probably pre Earthside, by the people who were supposed to love me most in the world. And that toxicity eeps out, right? It gets out into, then it's like within the sibling group, it's within family friends, it's within extended family. And when you feel like you're looked at differently or judged differently, you will do anything to fit in,
Mm.
right? You will do anything. You will bend and contort and give just to be included, to be loved,
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's that extreme with this group.
And
Obviously, it's,
I
huh?
think I'm more interested, and I think the listener would be too. I think I'm more interested, like with the armoring piece for myself too, because I
Yeah.
think it's like if we stopped there and it's like I will do anything to fit in, it's actually not what's happening, right? It's actually that we're feeling like we don't belong, and then we're like sort of like with binging, right? Like we have three cookies, and then we're like, well, let me just go have everything. We're feeling like we don't belong, and then we're like, you know what? I'm out of here, right? Like I'm armored up. Like now I'm really protected. It's like Like that's the, I
Yeah.
just wonder what we do with that.
Yeah. Because it's the both and, right? I will do anything. And so outwardly, I will do anything. And then behind closed doors, that's where the other stuff happens, right? That's when the armor comes off and you're like, fuck, how do I feel all of these things in such a raw way? It's so real.
So real.
It's so big. And you're so alone, right? You believe you're so alone because you're misunderstood or you're othered or you're not a
Too
part
much.
of the group in the same way, so it's both things are happening outwardly, do anything, and behind closed doors, having to make that feeling go away, because to sit with it just feels like it will kill you or something.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. I guess I just noticed it's not something I go looking for with people. Like I'm not that person, but like but it's just like these little like zings every once in a while where you're like, oh, got
What
it.
do you
Oh,
mean you don't
got
go
it.
looking for it? I don't understand.
Like I'm not a person that I'm constantly like, how am I different than these? Like I'm not looking for ways that we're different at all. I'm always looking for ways that we connect. That's like one of my favorite things to do is to connect with people. Otherwise I wouldn't be a therapist probably. So it's just those little zings, those little reminders. And again, it's not what's happening right here in the now. Like you said, it's the historical stuff. It's the old stuff. And it's just that reminder of like, oh, that piece.
It's
Still not
so
done with that.
hard to remember that when it's happening though.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Because when it's happening, it feels so personal and so immediate. Right.
It
And
feels
it's just
so
not.
real.
It's just, yeah, well, and it is real. It's just not an accurate representation of reality at the time.
Oh, I love that.
It is. It's real. It's valid. It's just not an accurate representation of
It's
what's
real, it's
happening.
valid.
Mhm.
It's just not true. Clarissa,
Yeah, it's so
notoriously
interesting for
quiet.
me to like hear all this because I'm like, Molly P is my person. And how does she like not know that like I adore her and like all, and actually like the number one thing I appreciate the most about you is that you are just so you and that you don't appease the way that I always do. And that like you have these ideas and you always stand your ground, like even if it puts you in that othering situation.
Mhm.
That I think, it's just really interesting for me. What was happening was she was getting emotional and then I felt myself like shutting down.
Yeah.
Like, which is really, really curious for me because I was like, oh, like she doesn't know how much I love her. How can I tell her how much I love her? Rather than being in my therapist of just being able to like get curious about it a little more and like be able to ask the questions. I couldn't even come up with the questions, which I think is so interesting. And I do wonder sometimes if it's like, Molly, me and you share neurodiversity in some ways. And I think sometimes that connection and that vibing can feel othering to people who aren't experiencing that in the same way. But yeah, no, and I've also experienced those feelings of being othered myself, like pretty much my whole life because of being neurodiverse and seeing things completely different. People are like, you're not doing it in the right way or the way that neurotypicals do that. Yeah. And just understanding, like, I feel like I look at Molly P and it makes me want to be more me, because she stands it in her truth so often. So yeah, it's hard for me to hear that, that, and I understand that it's still stuff from childhood because I know your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's just it, and I appreciate you making that observation too, is you're right. I refuse to censor myself really for people,
Yeah.
right? Again, like people get variations of me, not because I'm censored so much as like, you don't necessarily deserve all the bits of me because you're not a safe person or whatever it might be. But I mean, what you see is what you get. And I definitely know who I am and I know what it feels like to not be me anymore. but it definitely does. It brings that up. Like it's a lot of energy to stand in your truth. You know, it's a lot of, I don't know, like it like it takes courage. And I don't know that I'm the most courageous person, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like,
I would deeply, I'm not here to fix your feelings. I would deeply agree with that.
Yeah.
I think your barometer of what courageous is like not accurate.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just because like I know how scared I feel when I do stand in it, especially if it's something I'm really passionate about, that I know that you know how Molly, like you say often, I've heard you say like people either love me or they don't kind of deal.
No neutrality.
And like when I am in that really passionate place and I get animated, I get all kinds of things. I mean, Clarissa's been with me. I'm like talking with my hands and I might like turn red in the face and my voice, I swear a lot more. Then it's always like in the aftermath, it's like that shame and guilt like starts to take over, like, oh, they just saw bits of me that I don't know what they're going to do with. And should I have said and done that? And did I step on people's toes? Because the last thing I want to do is offend, you know, whatever, like the whole like download that happens. And that's that whole like both and, where then it's like behind closed doors. It's like, how do you sit with that? I mean, I'm shaking just talking about it right now, you know? And
That was my question, which is like, cause I, like that Brene Brown research, which is like, well, okay, like when shame is shared instead of stored in a petri dish, that's how it's healed, right? Our vulnerability plus a lot of head nodding, which if you're watching, you're seeing us all like crying, loving on her, like, and to answer honestly, obs, but like, does it feel better to talk about it?
yeah, I mean, it does feel good to name it and just so it's out there in the group. This isn't something we had like previously really talked about at all. It had been mentioned, but we hadn't talked about it. So people are getting like the real raw, like
Well,
this
you're
is a
also,
real conversation right
and
now.
listener, like, I just
And
think
I'm like shaking.
this is such like a masterclass in friendship. I think like there's this other, like, of course, we're like therapists that are like doing this podcast about our own addictions. And like, I've found this vulnerability that we have even in like the episodes that I've done, just like, this is like like a masterclass in friendship. Like, I just know also like I've in AA, like they've taught me like when I'm feeling like that, like I need to raise my hand and share about it. And I do it. And it's like the worst feeling. And I did you ever read Love Warrior by Glennon Doyle? It was her first book.
Oh, no, not that one.
But there's this one line in it where she's just like, stay on your mat. So like when I share that, because I know I'm just for the listeners, like, okay, girls, like, what do we do now? Good for you guys. You're best friends now. Okay. Which we are. We are. But like when I tell the truth about it, I have to make sure because I'm such a runner and I'm such an armorer, like you, Malls. Like, I'm like, stay on your mat, share it, grit your teeth. People are gonna come up to you. Clarissa's gonna come and say, hey, babe, I love you. And it's like, okay, I love you too. Oh, this is so fucking painful, but here we are. Like, okay, I'm loved. Cause like I think a little about what we're doing now is like, redoing the neural pathways with you, right? Like,
yeah,
surprising to hear you feel othered. Also not, like, I get it.
Yeah.
And we love you.
Totally.
All of
And
I actually love the parts of my favorite parts of you are the parts that you're feeling ashamed of for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of you.
Yeah. I think it's my favorite part of me too. And then that's the fear, is that if other people don't feel the same, I will be rejected. I will be abandoned. I will be left out. And as much as I love my solitude and I am my own best friend a lot of days, I also want relationship. Yeah. And I want it to be authentic. I really, really, really want it to be, I just want to be seen. And I think we all want that. We just want to be seen. Yeah. Yep. So there you go.
But you let us see you today,
Oh
Mom.
yeah. The whole world just got to see me as I'm like literally
The
shaking
whole
in my chair
world
right now.
got
I'm
to
just
see
like,
me.
And in perpetuity, they can always come back to this episode and watch it.
yeah, great. be gentle, folks.
Then
Be
I
gentle.
would have a question. What would you do for yourself today after this? After talking about this being so raw, so vulnerable, what would you do to take care of yourself?
I'm gonna let myself really cry. And because there are sounds that will come out of me that the whole world does not need to hear. But also I don't know. If it warms up, I will definitely get outside. I mean, it's been minus 21 with wind chill this morning, and we have like 8 feet of snow. So I need to get outside though, because I've been housebound. So that
Oh,
would be it.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love you guys.
All the parts.
Yes, all the parts of you too. So, all right. Well, if you want to hear more, if you have
There she goes.
questions.
Mask on.
Mask on, mask up, and close the show, Molly.
We
That's
are
it.
done.
Ask the shrinks at foodshrinks.com. We're here.
Bye, gang.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Food Shrinks. Quick reminder, this podcast isn't a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for guidance suited to your needs. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach others on the recovery journey. Take care, and remember, freedom with food is possible. See you next time.